Earl never seemed interested in the Terence Crawford fight, even from like way back. Terence Crawford did a video where he was talking about he was calling out Earl from back at 140, and I remember that. I remember when Terence was calling out Earl back when he was at 140, and I remember him like, you know what I mean, like trying to make the fight, like okay with moving up in weight in order to fight either Earl or Keith. I remember those interviews. I remember those conversations. You know what I'm saying? And I remember Earl not ever being interested in the Terence Crawford fight. Now, a lot of the Earl people are gonna say, well, why would Earl be looking or thinking about a guy that's in a lower weight division? A lot of the Earl people are gonna say that. But guess what? By you saying that, you kind of setting yourself the fuck up. You setting yourself all the way the fuck up, because guess what? He fought Mikey Garcia. And what's his reasoning for fighting Mikey Garcia? Oh, Mikey Garcia called me out. Mikey Garcia called me out. So I fought him. But Terence Crawford called you out at 140. Why wasn't that a priority for you? You know what I'm saying? Mikey Garcia is a priority for you at 135. You saw him, you heard him calling you out, but you didn't hear Terence Crawford calling you out at 140. And see, this is where the Earl argument falls apart in a lot of different ways. You know what I'm saying? Tyrone Spencer said Bud never called out at 140. He called out Keith. That's not true. He called out Errol Spence. When Errol Spence got that IBF belt, Bud was all over that. Bud was like, I want to move up. I want to fight the champions. I want to fight Errol Spence. I want to fight Keith Thurman. Keith Thurman was definitely his top priority, but he definitely wanted to fight Earl. As soon as Earl got that belt, Terence Crawford wanted to fight him. From the moment that Earl got that belt, Terence was calling him out. As a matter of fact, Terence was calling out all the top guys at welterweight when he was at 140. You know what I'm saying? Sony says Mikey's used Mikey's PPV numbers, gave 50-50 with no belt, 135, just like Bud 135 pounds. Absolutely. But you know, you go to the other channels and you go to the other videos, and they ain't gonna tell you that. They're not gonna mention that. They're gonna say, oh, well, Bud saying he was calling Earl out at 140. But why would you call Earl out at 140? Why is he supposed to fight somebody at 140? But you fought Mikey Garcia. You fought a 135 pounder, and Bud was a 135 pounder, just like my guy Sony just explained. So it's okay for you to fight Mikey, but it's not okay for you to fight Bud, somebody who was undisputed in the division when they were coming up. And here's the thing, I did a video like kind of going through the whole thing and shit like that, like the whole little saga of bullshit that Earl kind of like put dude through. But here's the thing that I left out of that video. If you got a guy that's moving up to your division, because we've seen this multiple times. If you got a guy that's moving up to your division that was undisputed in your division, why does that guy need to get a belt in order for you to fight him? Why does that guy have to get a belt in order for you to fight him? Because Mikey Garcia definitely didn't have a belt. Amir Khan, when he moved up to fight Canelo, Amir Khan didn't have a belt. Kell Brook, when he moved up to fight Triple G, Kell Brook didn't have a belt at middleweight. So the belt thing really, in all actuality, was always an excuse. Even the belt thing, even when Earl said, well, he got to get a belt first, that was an excuse. Because this is a guy who's clearly proven at 140 and 135. He was the champion in both divisions. So why does he need to get a belt in order for you to make the fight happen? When you were okay with fighting a 135 pounder who moved up 2 weight divisions with no belt, you were okay with making that fight. But you're not okay with making a Terence Crawford fight. And this is why people have issues with Errol Spence. Tyrone Spencer says Max Kellerman said Spence and Terence Crawford said that Keith was the big fish. Keith was the guy. Keith was indeed the guy at welter. Keith had the WBC and the WBA belts. Everybody was calling out Keith Thurman. But Earl had gotten that IBF belt around the same time that Keith unified the division. Around that time that Keith got the WBA and the WBC belt, Earl got his IBF belt off Kell Brook. And from that moment in time, Terence Crawford was calling him out. Terence Crawford was calling him. As soon as Earl got that belt, Terence Crawford wanted that fight. He was calling him out. You know what I'm saying? Mikey called him out. Everybody heard when Mikey called him out, but nobody heard when Terence called him out. You know what I'm saying? Tyrone Spencer says Bud could have moved up and fought Spence or Porter or Thurman, or Spence or Porter. Thurman was hurt. He went the WBO route. Well, here go the thing, Tyrone. I like that you said that. I like that you said that, Tyrone. I'm gonna tell you why I like that you said that, right? What did Earl and Keith tell Bud to do? That's a question for you, Tyrone Spencer. What did Earl and Keith tell Bud to do when he got into the welterweight division? And this goes back to my point. This is why I say these dudes be ducking and dodging. Because he could have went the WBC route. He could have went the WBA route. He could have been the mandatory for those guys. He could have did that. He could have been the mandatory. But both Earl and Keith told Bud that he needed to get a belt first. So what did he do? He got a belt. He went after the belt. That's what he did. But had Keith or Earl not said that, maybe he would have went that WBA or WBC route or IBF route and could have went for that mandatory slot. Maybe he would have did it that way. But this is why I say what I say. This is exactly why I say what I say, because you told that man to do something. He did it. And then you smooth act like you ain't tell him nothing. You smooth act like nothing happened and then give him something else to do. Now you go from, okay, get a belt. He get the belt. Now he got to take the easy route. That's what I'm talking about. That's exactly what I'm talking about. You proved my point with that one. Tyrone Spencer says he did not need that belt if he wanted that smoke right away. Well, again, Keith told him that they would fight him if he had a belt. So if I tell you that in order for you to get something, you got to do this, and then you do it, you're gonna expect me to produce whatever I promised you. You're gonna expect that. It's just a natural thing. This is why Bud is frustrated with all the bullshit, because you telling him, okay, do this and then we can make it happen, and then I do it and then we don't make it happen. Now it's something else. Tyrone Spencer says undisputed champs can move up right away and fight the champ at the higher weight division, meaning TC could have moved up and fought them years ago. He could have moved up and fought him. Yeah, he could have challenged for the belt. But at the end of the day, how long have we had guys who are mandatories waiting for fights? You know what I'm saying? How many? Ugas was waiting for a Pacquiao fight. Ugas still ain't get Pacquiao. He's been the WBA regular champion for I don't even know how long. You know what I'm saying? He's been the WBA champion. Charlo was the undisputed. Charlo was the mandatory for Canelo. What did Canelo do? Canelo applied for the franchise belt, moved up weight divisions. So just because you're the mandatory, it doesn't guarantee you a fight. Yeah, you can put yourself in that position, But at the same time, you could still be waiting years. So if you're somebody like Bud Crawford and you're moving up weight divisions, the last thing you want to do is wait years for that kind of fight, especially when you have the opportunity to at least secure a belt on your side. And then on top of that, you have the promise of somebody saying that they gonna go ahead and fight you if you get a belt. Both Thurman and Terence Crawford said that. I'm sorry, both Thurman and Errol Spence said that. You know what I'm saying?